Okay, so as I say, we're going to be looking at Tzaphkiel this week. So what we want to do first is we want to create the energy with the turquoise and deep magenta pomanders. So if you'd like to get them, if you have them, I'll do 3 turquoise around the outside and 1 deep magenta in the middle. I guess for myself, I'll go on. And when you're ready, if you'd like to rub your hands together, open your arms, and let's invite the energy of turquoise deep magenta into the space. Inviting the energy of Archangel Tzaphkiel into the space and into what we share today and through this week. And gently, just bring your hands over your crown and just feel as the turquoise deep magenta begins to enter your space. Over the back of the head, and through the temples. Bring your hands together above your crown in the 8th chakra and slowly draw the energy from above, from the spiritual dimension, down through the 3rd eye. Clearing the throat. Over the chest. And let's rest at the heart for a moment. And just relax into the heart, into the present moment. And continuing down through the olive into the yellow, the solar plexus. Through the golden area. Into the hara, into the orange chakra. And into the base chakra. And bending forwards, bring the turquoise deep magenta energy to a star beneath your feet within the earth, and beyond that to a star at the center of the earth, giving thanks to the earth that we may be here. And coming up, spread your arms once more. And bring your hands together at your brow. And from between the palms, receive the fragrance 3 times into your own temple. And next we're going to light the candle. We'll be dedicating the candle to Tzaphkiel and to the next step of this Rainbow Warrior course together. So let's invite light and love into the process. That was really close, can you see? Almost had to break that. Wow. Hard to see through there. So I'm going to put this on the table. And I've cleared the table. Since the last few weeks, we've had lots of bottles on the table. Earlier today, I took them off. And so we're just down to, in fact, I already have the 2 on there. So you can see there's the candle now. With our names around. Here's Tzaphkiel in the background. And now we have Tzaphkiel in the foreground. Let's just have a minute or 2 meditation, I think. One of the qualities of Tzaphkiel I found when it was born was, for me, it was very difficult to know what to say at all. So I felt like a silence in the face of the unknown. So let's just take a moment. Just relax into yourself. And just imagine this sparkling turquoise and deep magenta, not just on the table, at the center of the table, but filling the energy of the table and also filling your space, your aura. And let's sit in silence for a moment in this vibration. Just open your mind, just see what comes to your awareness, if anything, as you rest in this energy. And slowly, gently, just beginning to prepare to let go of the space. And when you're ready, on an out breath that feels good, open your eyes to a new moment in your own time. One of the pictures I want to work with today is this one that we've been looking at, the Tree of Life. Let me just put it up here. Okay. So welcome everybody. So what I'd like to do today is I'd like to introduce you to, of course, Archangel Tzaphkiel and my thoughts about Archangel Tzaphkiel, and show you how it fits into this ongoing Rainbow Warrior sequence and what we can look for this week in our own journey. I'm going to show you something of the kind of the background, I suppose, first. I brought this Tree of Life across, and this is a picture we've been building up for a little while now. I hope you can see that somewhat. We have Samael at the very bottom here, which ordinarily would be across here on the path of the tower. Make that a bit brighter for you. Ordinarily would be across here, but I think of Samael as the shadow includes all of this area. That when the soul from spirit, when the soul emerges from spirit, and then I've got the star child here, and then the soul steps into the human experience, then we step into something that's also shadow as well as light. And so Samael represents that entering into the shadow. And in a way, the first half of Rainbow Warrior Course, as I keep saying, is a process of finding ourselves, restoring our light within the shadow. I don't think it's not an exact analogy, but if you think that when you think back to when your early memories, we don't remember 1 year old or 2 years old, 2.5, 3. Your earliest memory will be maybe 3 years old, 4 years old, maybe 2 years old. It's very rare for someone to remember all the way back to their birth moment. And so there's some kind of break of consciousness. The memory of who we are now has a memory that only goes back so far. And what we were before, we don't remember. And there's some kind of break in consciousness, I think, when the soul is born into this world and it kind of leaves the spiritual consciousness, self-consciousness, and it kind of goes into some kind of orange shock, maybe, to use Orasoma words. And then little by little, the soul wakes up in the body, but now with a sense of self that's identified in the body. So we've forgotten our soul quality, the star child, which I have here, and we've woken up as an individual in the physical body, red, so a yellow in the red, in this world of light and shadow. Of course, yellow-red is hidden inside olive deep magenta. So there's a process of remembering, I think, which this sequence of archangel bottles, starting with Samael, because the next one is Haniel, which is has a Rhine Angelica hidden within it, which is the intense version of the Star Child. And we work through those Star Child, the New Age Child set, New Eon Child set, as they're called now, in the second week. And in a way, that's like just restoring this kind of silver cord. It's interesting in Vicky's book. She talks about the New Age Child set with silver. She doesn't say clear over blue, clear over green. She says silver over blue, silver over green. And I like that when I remembered that as I was taking you through that. The idea of the silver cord, the connection to the spiritual world. So we've come into the shadow, but then the connection with the spiritual world through the silver cord is remembered somewhat, which then brings us across to Shamael, this pink energy on the left side of the tree. Haniel is on the right. And there are different ways we can see Shamael, but it has the archangeloi with it. And the archangeloi, the only archangeloi after the first 8, the one that seems to support us as an emperor, inverted commas, as a self in this world, because it's 104. 4 is the number of the emperor and the self. It brings a spiritual blessing upon us, even as we stand in this world. Having remembered the silver cord connection with the previous week, Haniel, now we're blessed to be here from the spiritual dimension. So I think of these two, Haniel and Shamael, as some restoring of our spiritual self from within, now that we find ourselves in the shadow. And I saw them also as some kind of parent, some kind of blue and pink, father, mother, protection and love for the star child that we are. So there's this process of, we've come into the shadow, but now we're remembering our spiritual consciousness. Our spiritual consciousness is beginning to return. And in 105, Azrael, which is the last part of that first sequence, the first 4 weeks, you have this intersection of the spiritual being, Azrael, with the human being that's lying here. I know you can't see, but I hope you can remember that from the past, the lady. And the golden area, the true aura area, coincides. The spiritual being, true aura, and the human being, true aura, are in the same place. So there's a kind of an alignment of soul consciousness from the spiritual world into the human world there. And I've been thinking quite a bit about this Azrael week and how to understand it. And my best thought at the moment is, I think of it somehow like some kind of, we're not fully healed with Azrael. I don't think Azrael is the full healing of all that's been before, but I think like some spiritual consciousness has been sewn into the picture, has been like you're mixing a cake, and now you've mixed in this spiritual consciousness, golden intelligence into the bake, into what's going to be cooked. And now it's there. And now it's in a process of transmuting, that there is a baking that's going on. And I think in some ways that baking is continuing even while we're in week 6 and week 5 and 6 of the Rainbow Warrior. We've moved beyond Azrael, but I still think that baking is going on in a way. And I've often said to some, you'll have heard me say before, one of the examples of Azrael for me is this friend of mine who just had a situation so intense, she just had to go and bury her bottle. All the pressures of family around her and everything, she just buried the bottle. But over time, everything resolved itself in her life for a good outcome. But there was a process of intensity where she just had to bury it and let it be. And in a way, I think that's what happens in the Azrael week. That golden energy is like the sowing of some alchemy catalyst, a catalyst for alchemy. And now it's put into the situation, and now the baking is going on. And that brings me now to Ratziel of last week and now Tzaphkiel of this week. Because what happens is that now I'm talking about the tree of life again. And if you remember the tree of life, you have the spiritual world at the top, which is where we're going to see Tzaphkiel and Tzaphkiel in a second. The spiritual world is here. And then we have the soul world. And the soul world has emerged from the spiritual world. The soul world has stepped out of the spiritual world. It's an extension of the spiritual world into a new space. And that soul world is the bridge to what will become and is for us already created, which is the material world. So the soul is the bridge between God in heaven, you could say, and earth. And the soul is the one that travels from spirit to the earth and becomes the bridge between the two. And we were looking at the soul world here with the star child between Hanael and Shamael, this kind of male, female, father, mother protection for the child, the soul, the child. But now that we've got this baking situation going on, what we have now is the energy comes up. This is where the next, so Tzaphkiel and this week's Tzaphkiel are placed in the top of the tree. They're on the left, on the right side and the left side of the tree of life, at the top of the male pillar and the female pillar. So in a way, we've gone from some kind of parent, father, mother energy supporting the soul to now a father, mother energy from the spiritual world supporting all that's beneath. We've gone up a level. And then there's a couple of things we can think about there. We've already done Tzaphkiel, of course, but I'll say a few words about Tzaphkiel first. On the male side of the tree, Tzaphkiel, think about it as, you have to think about it as something yang. So archetype, you've got yang on this side and yin on this side. So yang and yin. Yang is expressive, outgoing. The expression and outgoing, I think, in Tzaphkiel, or one of the ways to see that is this seed of a dream. So last week we talked about Lewis Hamilton, who had a dream to become, to be the best he could be. And then amazingly, last week, while we were making that presentation, he became equal best world racing driver ever by having 7 world championships. But that dream, that seed of a dream of, so let me just say that, seed of dream. Let me immediately just point out then that dream, whatever dream it is that is the seed, is going to need a vehicle through which it can live. A dream needs to be grounded through a vehicle, as in a physical body, or it needs to be grounded through something. The dream needs to be grounded through something. It needs to have a body. The mother, so I'm going straight to Tzaphkiel now. The mother principle on the top of the female side of the tree, the mother principle, archetypal universal mother principle, not sure quite what words to use. The mother is what gives us, what gives everything form. Everything is given form through the mother principle. All of us have been born through a mother. We talk about Mother Earth. Almost every culture talks about Mother Earth. Earth is the mother who supports all life. In Latin, the word for mother is mater. Pater, father, like paternal, and mater, mother, like maternal, like a motherly instinct. But mater is one letter short, one T short of the English word matter. Mater and matter. Matter is the mother. In German, it's Mutter. It's the gift of the mother is matter. And so the mother is creating the matrix. That's another mother word, matrix. It's got the same MAT at the beginning, matrix. Provides the matrix whereby souls can have a body and dreams can have the opportunity to be grounded. But of course it's turquoise and not red. And we think of red as being to do with grounding. And strangely, the turquoise master, Mark Hocken, who also lives in this sphere, so I'm going slightly off topic for a second, but the turquoise master, Mark Hocken, who's also found in the same sphere as Tzaphkiel, is said to be the only master who never incarnated. That's a paradox. The mother gives form to all things, but the master in the universal mother sphere is the only one never said to have been incarnated. I should show you a picture, if I can find it quickly enough. Let's see. I'm going to show you the picture of, or maybe no, I'm not. I am, we're lucky. Here's the picture of, I'm telling you Mark Hocken now. This is the turquoise master, not Tzaphkiel, but the turquoise master. But here's the picture of Mark Hocken. You see it's bottle 62. And I think you can probably read the name there, Mark Hocken. And you see this kind of energetic being. But if you look, ultimately, it's some kind of shamanistic picture with these feathers. But look what's above the head of Mark Hocken. Planet Earth. It's like saying almost like the Earth is the dream. The eighth chakra of Mark Hocken is planet Earth. It's like Mark Hocken is the dreamer of the Earth. And so I'm saying that Tzaphkiel is the archangel, is an archangel in the sphere through which consciousness is given, has the possibility to take on form, to be given form. So consciousness is able to be given form so that it can then come and live in this world, which is the dream of the turquoise energy of Mark Hocken. So we're living in some kind of matrix, some kind of space that's been created through the turquoise. Okay, now this is important. One of the important things I want to say. One of the very important words of turquoise is individuation. Individuation, which is a Carl Jung term. And very simply, I think what it means is that we work to become individual. So it's quite interesting is that when we're children, I was just thinking this as an example of it recently. When you're a child, you tend to think like your parents do. Children don't know. Children, if you ask children who would you vote for, they'll always say who their parents would vote for, because the children have no other reference for politicians and politics and everything as a child. Of course, when you get older, you start to individuate. You start to have your own idea and decide what your own point of view is. You begin to create your own point of view. And that's a process of individuation. You're growing away from the orange, let's say the orange of your family energy, and you're becoming an individual out of that. And that's the individuation process. And turquoise is what drives that. Turquoise is just above green. Green is direction, space and direction. And turquoise is stimulating you to find your own space and direction. Once you have, if you're given space, then what's your direction? That individuation process. And I would say that in a bigger way of understanding it, the gift of the mother side, the gift of Tzaphkiel, is the gift of the possibility to individuate. There's another bottle I like to talk about this with. So again, I'm jumping around a bit, but this is bottle 34, pink turquoise, Birth of Venus. Birth of Venus, I'll just show it to you again if you didn't see it. There we are, bottle 34. So that's pink on top, turquoise underneath. This is the painting where Venus is emerging from the waves of the water, of the sea, onto the beach. That's like a baby coming out of the womb, out of the waters onto the land. And but this combination gives us another way to understand that too. By coming to Earth pink, we can individuate, we can become individual turquoise. By coming to Earth, we have a chance to individuate. You can add extra ideas into individuation because there's a growing in consciousness too. It's not just to become different to everything around you, but also a growth in consciousness. So we have this idea of, so if we take the previous bottle, Tzaphkiel, there's a seed of a dream there. We had the example, as I said, of Lewis Hamilton. I had two very interesting meetings this Tzaphkiel week. I'll just tell you about them because they were so interesting to me. Maybe you saw I mentioned I gave this wood. I gave a man in the village some wood. Well, when he came to collect the wood, I started talking with him. And I was amazed by the story he told me. I knew that I asked, how long have you lived, how long have you had the house in the village where you live? He said, like 20 years. But I know he wasn't living there all the time because one of my friends lived in that house for us. She was renting it. So I asked him what he'd been doing. He said, well, me and my family, we were on a sailing boat, a kind of a sailing boat, and we sailed around the world. Like for 10 or 12 years, he sailed around the world with a family. All the way to New Zealand, Tim. He could have picked you up in Malaysia, dropped you in Australia on his way. That's amazing to me, I'd have been scared, to take a family across the ocean, the storms, but he took his family for all those years. That's a really amazing dream, I think. And I just saw something on YouTube, a man who, as a boy, he loved the wilderness. When he was 13, he left school and he walked from Vermont. So Barbara, you might understand this. He walked from Vermont all the way up to Canada at 13 years old, along the long trail, his famous trail in America, at 13 by himself. So he's another person who's got an amazing kind of inspiration to do something, this Tzaphkiel inspiration. And the reason that I saw him on the YouTube videos, because he went to live in Canada. He went to Alaska. He went to the far north of Alaska, this mountain range, just a hut, -40, bears and wolves. And he was killing, he just lived off the land. He had a rifle. He needed to kill one moose a winter, and he'd eat it every day because it's frozen. And he did that for years with a family, unbelievably. So people who have amazing dreams, really deep dreams, but they need to be kind of, the complement of that is it needs something through which to ground. And Tzaphkiel is giving that the possibility of grounding, like Birth of Venus, like Mark Hocken with the 8th chakra of the earth. I don't know yet what it means for us as we go through this week, what this means for us. But the principle of Tzaphkiel, because it sits in this part of the tree of life, this is the theme of the place in which it sits. There's another amazing thing, and I don't know if any of you came across this before. I wrote about it. In fact, there's two stories I want to tell you, but this is one of them. So the bottle of Tzaphkiel was born on a Tuesday. It was a Tuesday in December. And I'm sure if I look over there, I can find it in a certain moment, but maybe I'll tell you in a minute. It was born on a Tuesday. On the Friday of that week, there was a big film release. And films are only released on Fridays because you get the most customers. So it was the Friday release of a film that had been waited for a long time. It was the first big 3-dimensional movie. I didn't see it in 3D, but you could do. And it's called Avatar. You've probably heard of the film Avatar. So Avatar was released. Its date was put back. It was meant to be the summer, but it was put back twice. And it was finally released on the Friday after the Tuesday of the birth of Tzaphkiel. And it couldn't be any closer because films were only released on Friday. There's two things. One is, if you've seen the film, you'll know that so it's a film about some earthlings, some people who are like on this planet. It's a very hostile planet for them, and they're trying to get this precious metal, which has the best name in films as far as I'm concerned. It's called unobtainium. Like, you just can't get it, unobtainium. Anyway, and then there's the military type half of the team who are like going up there and just blowing up any aliens they can see, which of course not aliens, they're natives. And then there's this researcher they've got this way of, so it's all called Avatar because they can put human consciousness into these kind of grown bodies. This is the point. So you probably know the story, but the life form on the planet, one of the life forms on the planet is called the Navi, N-A-V-I. Sounds like navel to me, like, the umbilical cord. And but they've grown some of these bodies, and the human beings can put their consciousness into these bodies, and then they can go down to the planet and they can live on the planet as natives. They don't need to go down like the military with their kind of, breathing masks and protection. They can just go down and be free on the planet. And so this story is about one soldier who becomes part of the science team and then goes down onto the planet. And little by little, he begins to interact with the natives and he begins to change his mind. So that's the story, really. And the film's called Avatar. And Avatar is a Hindu word, Sanskrit word. And Avatar is the one who descends, the one who comes down, the God who descends. So you've got this idea of consciousness descending into matter, the God who comes down into the world. And at the center of that, so on the surface, what you have is these Navi are sparkling blue creatures, just like the bottle. The Navi look like this color. That's what they look like, that top fraction. So that's an amazing thing. Everyone around the world was seeing the color of the new Orosoma bottle if they went to see that film. But more importantly, because of the placement of the bottle in the tree of life, because of this Tzaphkiel connection, which is in the sphere of the universal mother, gives us the theme of the film. Because the theme of the film is, how do you put consciousness into a body? Consciousness, Ratziel, the dream, into a body, so you can come to Earth. So that's an amazing thing. That this really big film, the biggest film of the year, Avatar, which had the same colors as the bottle, had the same theme as the bottle. So if I step back and I think about Rainbow Warrior as an idea and a course, we had that first month and we had this process of being kind of finding ourselves on Earth, somewhat shocked, and little by little, the light being restored, our spiritual consciousness beginning to return to the point where there can be some alchemy, some healing of what we've experienced. This second month that we're in, and we're just going to the second week of the second month now, because Ratziel was the first week. I think what's being worked on here, if you think about the idea of Rainbow Warrior, the idea is that you're a human being who's living who's strong in their spiritual purpose, who's living their spiritual vision strongly. I mean, that to me is the idea of Rainbow Warrior, that you're living in the world, physically in the world, but you're a servant of the light, you're living the light. So last month, we had the process of bringing light to the shadow, to the predicament that we have found ourselves in. But now we're looking at the flower that's growing out of the mud. Let's put it like that for a second. The flower is like our spiritual purpose. So last week we had Ratziel, which in a sense is kind of coming back to the dream. Remember that 6th chakra stone also on the land when Tzaphkiel was born, or remember the context that Mike had invited the distributors to England to give them the vision of Orosoma so they could take the vision out. It's that all this idea of sowing a seed, that sixth stone is drawing something in from the universe and to broadcast it on the planet. And each of us can be an antenna or a receiver of some spiritual message that we can send out to the world, that we can live through our body. And so last week we're connecting, there's that resonance with the dream, the seed of the dream. And this week it's that which is going to clothe the dream, what's going to, give it a body, give it the opportunity to ground. So I think that this second month of the Rainbow Warrior course, it's now supporting our Rainbow Warrior potential. The first month was like to heal what has the shock that has been. And now it's like into that which is healing is coming a new impulse, a higher vibrational impulse that can take root, that can begin to grow out of what's being healed from our past. I was looking through what Mike wrote about on the first story. There's another story I want to tell you, and I must remember it's about the moon, because the month that Tzaphkiel was born, December of 2009, it was one of those months where you have 2 full moons in 1 month. To have 2 full moons in 1 month is called a once in a blue moon. It happens every 2.5 years. You get 2 full moons in 1 month. So I've got something about that, but before I get to that, I'll just find this thing that Mike wrote. If I'm lucky. I'll find the quote in a second, but it's something about the past versus the future, or something from the future rather than something defined from the past. So let me just see if I can find it here. Well, here's one way that it's said. It's a bit complex, but as the new light of personal and interpersonal harmony dawns. So personal harmony, so harmony within ourselves, and then harmony within ourselves means that we can be more harmonious with people around us. So if I'm more at harmony, if I'm more harmonious in myself and other people are more harmonious, then we can create a more harmonious society because we're each harmonious within ourselves. So as the new light of this harmony within and without us dawns, new day beginning, we can begin to see the peace. We can begin to see the peace that calls us from the space of a transformed future. So you've got the idea of a transformed future calling us. If we can become more harmonious, then we become open to a new kind of future calling us. There's another actually very interesting association with the birth of Tzaphkiel. The movie Avatar was one thing, but the other big thing in the news that week was the Copenhagen Climate Conference. At the time, it was like the most ambitious attempt for the countries of the world to come together and agree collectively on a kind of a future that's more, like saving the planet, let's say, climate change, all those ideas. And I got a quote when I wrote my first article. There was a quote I got from one of the diplomats who was at that Copenhagen Peace Accord, because the answer wasn't clear when the bottle was born or when I wrote that article. But he said, I'll find that quote as well if I can. This is from the Bolivian ambassador at the United Nations. He said, "We must begin to change our relationship to nature in this new century," the one we're in now. The main way is to recognize that not only we humans have rights, but also that our Mother Earth, our nature, has rights, and rights that we must respect too. So it's like the idea of giving the earth rights. which is very similar to the idea of Avatar, of course, because Avatar is a conflict between military industrial complex versus, a native planet. So it's got the same idea in the film as in the Copenhagen Climate Conference of that week. And so what Mike's talking about here is this difference between the past that has been and the future, the possible future, to which we can begin to experience if we change our consciousness in the present. See, and that's this idea of Rainbow Warrior 2 in a kind of a way. Because as we heal the past and our consciousness changes, we can begin to live a different kind of future. So I'll just see if I can find this quote for you, or another way it said. So I think he said it another way too. Well, he also talks about, he also mentions here about with individuation, that as we individuate individually, we can also begin to cooperate with those around us who are also on their own individuation path. So we can, although we're individuating, we can still cooperate, which is going to the coral energy. So turquoise, coral are complementary colors. You individuate turquoise, but you still cooperate with others, coral. They're opposite colors in the color is. Okay. Okay, this is what I want to read to you. Page 53. No, I'm joking, it's about page 5. As this occurs, so what occurs? As Tzaphkiel, which is the name of the archangel, can help to ease us, like to move us out of our old karmic patterns and out of the effort that goes with that, the pushing and pulling of life to achieve that, this or that thing. I've noticed that in myself. I'm always thinking, like, if I want to do something, I'm thinking, how can I do that? What do I have to do? Lists of what I have to do, like a lot of effort to try and get somewhere. And what's being written about here is, as you kind of relax from old karmic patterns, the rescue aspect of the turquoise in B107, the new bottle, invites us into the grace of unfoldment. So the grace of unfoldment. So life is unfolding and its grace is like an easy thing. So the easiness of unfoldment and the wonder of allowing ourselves to simply step into the flow of our fulfillment. So that's the thing I want to say. Stepping into the flow of our fulfillment. Like letting go of the karmic patterns and the struggle of trying to get somewhere, and just relax into the flow of unfoldment and let the unfoldment of our best future kind of just open for us. That's what Mike wrote about as a gift of Tzaphkiel. And so in a way that's supporting the dream of Ratziel, which is all going to be working on, who we are on Earth. That will be supporting from a deeper level our future as a rainbow warrior, inverted commas, in life. So Iris is adding something as well. 107 was also born when the Iceland volcano. Okay. Yes, I remember that. So the big volcano, which stopped air traffic for a while, I remember. London airport was closed for about 6 days because of that volcano cloud, which Iris is saying put some shimmer in the air. Okay, thanks, Iris. So I think what I'd like to do, those are kind of, I suppose, most of my big ideas. At least I seem to have run out now for a bit of what I want to say. How about I put you into groups for a few minutes, let you talk with a couple of other people about what I've shared, and then we'll see if there's any questions you might have or anything you'd like to add to what I've said. So I'll put you in groups for about 10 minutes, and then after 10 minutes, I'll call you back, and then you can ask whatever questions you may wish to ask. If anyone needs to go, you better let me know so I don't put you in a group. Okay, I think we have to say goodbye to Yorkie because it's quite late in Hong Kong, I imagine. So thanks for joining us, Yorkie, and I'll take you out of a group. Okay, so I'll put you into groups now, and then I'll call you back together again. Okay, so you're in groups of 2 to 3. And Dorothy can't talk, so she'll have to be out of the group as well. Hopefully it's going to fall okay. Maybe I'll make it to groups of 3 or 4. Okay, so Barbara, Christina, Maria, and Tina, you're one group. Christiana, Iris, and Kerry's one group. Deborah, Evelyn, and Yuko's a group. Dominic, Gloria, and Sandra. Dorothy, Sue, and Tim. So that'll be Sue and Tim, just you two, okay? All right, and I'll see you in 10 minutes.
Hi there.
Hello.
Sandra and me, we were in our breakout room, but I told her I think we need to stay in your room and not go into the breakout room if we are together with you, right?
Oh no, there's no rule about it.
Yeah, it was only
you could have done, I suppose.
Yeah, it was only the two of us talking, and we said, "Well, where's Dominic? He's not coming." And I said,
I can't join you. That's the trouble. As the administrator of the breakout rooms, I can't go and join. I've tried before. No, but if you both left the room, it's true, you would have arrived.
Exactly. That's what I remembered from last Sunday, and I said to her, you know, Sandra, I think we should go back to the regular room so we can talk to Dominic, because that's what happened to me last Sunday when I was sitting here waiting for somebody to join my room.
That's right. But I called you back, didn't I? I think.
I went back. I said, well, there was two mute girls in there, and so I went back, and that's how we got to talk. Yeah. I guess Sandra is going to the loo or something. She said she'll join in a minute.
Okay, well, we could have done. It's true. Next time, maybe.
No, it was fun. I was just saying how to Sandra, the 107 that gives an 8, and then the 62, the Mahakohan you showed us was the 8.
Yes.
And I have the light fixture in my our Soma room is an 8, and when I did this what you gave us this YouTube this week, this exercise.
Oh yeah, what was the?
Yeah, the exercise, and I did that here in my room, and my number 5 was exactly the 8 above me when I did this turnaround. That was fun.
Very good, excellent. Looks like we've got everybody back now. So let me close that room tab.
Oh, okay. So this is us now. Okay.
Now everyone's together, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Hello, everybody again. I see Laura's here with Iris. Hi, Laura. Iris said you think maybe it's your True Aura bottle. Laura's Iris's daughter. So I said that she could join us because she thinks that, as I think correctly, that you're you think that this might be your aura bottle, Laura, is that correct? Have you enjoyed the presentation?
Yes, I enjoyed the presentation. Thank you for joining me.
Well, thank you for joining me. You're welcome. You're welcome. All right, does anyone have any questions? I have to draw my curtains again. I can see that the light's not very good because the sun's come out again. Okay, does anyone have anything you'd like to share from your group meeting? Anyone like to ask a question maybe or share something? If you just like give me a sign and I'll go to you. Yes, Sue.
It's only a quick thing. At the beginning when we did the meditation and you just said, does anything come into your mind?
Yes.
And then you went on to mention the avatar. But the sensation I got was of hands coming through my body and pumping the arteries near my heart. I could feel the chambers of the heart sort of getting more blood. Very weird. That's all I've got to say. But with the avatar thing, I thought maybe it was interesting.
Okay. Well, thank you. I don't know what to make of it, but sounds like, was it energizing? Yeah. Okay. All right. Great. Well, thanks. Thanks, Sue. Anyone else? Anyone else like to ask or share anything? That looks like a big no to me. I'm going to go to Tina for a second. I haven't seen Tina for a while anyway. So first of all, I'm saying hello, Tina. Another interesting thing, I know you work with a charity which is called Dreams Come True. You're on mute, I think.
No, actually, it's called Make a Wish.
Make a Wish. Make a Wish. Okay. All right, so that would be on the Ratziel. That would be on the Ratziel side of the tree, then, wouldn't it? I think. Make a Wish would be on the Ratziel side, and then Dreams Come True could be the support of Tzaphkiel to help bring it down.
Yeah,
but your charity is like helping wishes to come into being, isn't it?
Right. We're granting wishes for seriously ill children. So any child with a serious illness between 3 and 18 years can apply, and we make his or her wish come true if we can. Yeah.
Lovely. Thanks, Tina. Well, it just strikes me that the child has the wish, and you're helping to give a form to that wish. You're helping to give it the support that it can come into being. So, I was just thinking that.
It's funny because it kind of, the process started after, it's the best commercial for you because it started after Make a Wish Come True. And I just told the ladies in my breakout room that I joined the course and that you work above other things with collages.
Yes.
And what I didn't mention, but I can mention it now, the last collage I did was the least, let's say, the other ones were quite good to understand, pictures, and the third one was the least,
understandable,
tangible, understandable, whatever. But
yeah, there
was an angel in the top right corner of my last collage, and he was handing something down, but there wasn't clear what he was handing down. So I had no idea. I just had there was something handed down.
Yes.
And of course I know it now because now it has a kind of fully materialized. But I thought it was funny when I was listening to the Ratziel presentation and you said, I was a wish granter. You've been a wish granter, right?
With the wood. Yes, with the wood, yes.
Yeah, it's
basically. But you think that the angel was handing down was like the job that you now have and the work that you do? Great.
Yeah, great. So I recommend the course.
Thank you. Pro tip from Tina there. I do love working with collages. I've been reading about Jung this week. Let me go back to me for a second. Another interesting thing this week has been, I've come into contact with a couple of people who work with Jungian therapy, and particularly with the anima and the animus. And I'm kind of wondering if there's some kind of anima animus, especially here with these two, because apparently before you do the anima animus, you have to work with the shadow, which is in a way what we were doing last month, working with the shadow. So that's kind of something in the back of my mind. And the reason I'm saying this now is because one of the ways, because Jungian work, you really work with your dreams, with your unconscious. In fact, your anima or animus is really a kind of a guide for you in the unconscious world. But I found that working with collages, as well as working with bottles, of course, because simply by holding a bottle or letting that open your mind and see what comes to you, like Sue's experience now. But the working with collages is another great way to let your unconscious or your soul consciousness speak to you. And that's what we did in Make a Wish Come True course, and what I do with Mystery to Mastery and others. And it's a really important part of my work. But you kind of need to be with lots of magazines around you. So it tends to work better in a course situation than just at home, but it's a really good thing to do. I know Yuko in Tokyo has done a lot of courses with me on that as well. So thank you, Tina, for that little digression. I mean, even the process of like making a collage, you see, making a collage is giving some form to a dream. You know, the dream is the consciousness expresses itself in a form, and that can be through pictures that you find attractive in a magazine and which you cut out and then use to create, you know, like a collage for yourself. I think in all these ways, we're kind of talking about the Tzaphkiel energy, creating something that can give clothes, give a body to consciousness. So I'm going to have to think about and keep my open mind about how this Tzaphkiel week is going to work in practice for us in this process. And I'd be grateful to hear your thoughts about it too, if you have some as we go through the week. We'll have the meetings on Wednesday, of course, which is always a good opportunity for a new wave of information and feedback. Let me just go back to the group. Anyone else like to say anything? I see, Evelyn, you have a cat in front of you. I looked back at our video of one of the recent videos and I saw this cat tail just in front of Evelyn's face moving. And it's there again. So I can see your cat's an important part of your new home. Anyone else like to say anything before we finish? It's already 2:22. Ah. I see Maris as well has arrived. So anyone else from anything? All right. Then I wish you a good week. I'll save this and put it up on YouTube soon. Have a great afternoon, and we'll have meetings on Wednesday. And if I have further ideas in the meantime, I'll send you information.
I just have a small thing.
Yes, Tina. Before
you finish. And it just came to my mind. I don't know if it's relevant or not, but I say it now. You were talking a lot about, you know, the parents, the archangels as the parents.
Yes.
And on the soul level, and now, you know, on the divine level, if you like it. And it just happened to me that I saw, when you go farther down, when you go to the human part of the tree,
yes,
you don't have this anymore. You have it in the soul level. You have a left and a right. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like your parents standing beside you to kind of stabilize you or help you, or, you know, back you up, if you will. But if you are in the shadow, you are alone, or you have the illusion that you are alone, because there's no left and right there.
Oh, okay. So I think what you're, can I just check then? So I think what you're saying is that in the structure of the tree of life, of course, what we have is our human physical parents, but what you're saying in the structure of the tree of life, there is a kind of a left and right here, and a left and right here, and a left and right here. But when you get down to this level, there's no left and right, here and here. I can't see you now, Tina, I'm afraid. So,
I mean, of course, you have physical parents, but I think that one of the main reason of suffering is because we feel isolated, right? We feel like we fall into the shadow, and then we feel like kind of we are alone. We have to deal here alone.
well, yes.
In more or less, yes. Of course, you have parents and everything, but if you are on Earth, this is kind of the key experiences we have, that you have to do it alone. I mean, you come out of the womb, and then you are kind of separated.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Your body, and you have to stand alone in a way.
Yeah. Which of course is, and yeah, absolutely. And that's the prerequisite, the thing you need to have before you can individuate. You have to be alone in order to individuate. But it's not easy in the beginning.
To exist and the struggle to be individual are the same. Okay, shut up.
No, thanks, Tina. All right, everybody. Have a great weekend. Have a great week. Lovely to see you all. Thank you for joining me. And I look forward to being in touch soon. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.